with all this talk about Jimmy Kimmel being suspended and then reinstated and the people rising up to cancel their Hulu and Disney subscriptions, it got me thinking, have you ever noticed how almost every Disney princess is missing a mother? And to be clear, I'm focusing on the classics and the most popular productions. But the list is extensive, and it includes Snow White, Cinderella, Ariel, Belle. You have Pocahontas, Aurora, Rapunzel, Anna and Elsa, and Raya. Okay, that's 9 major Disney princesses that are missing a mother. And in contrast, only one princess grows up without the father, and that's Princess Tiana. You could count Cinderella because she eventually does lose her father, but Tiana is the only princess whose father is absent for the entire story. And she also happens to be the only black princess. But anyways, the imbalance here is striking. Disney removes the mother far more often than they do the father. And why do they need to do it at all? This is not just a random storytelling choice or character development, okay? It is a clear pattern and a powerful one. I think it reveals just how deeply our culture has been shaped to center the father's authority and sideline maternal power. Because mothers are creators. They're the life givers, the teachers, the protectors, right? They're the ones who pass down the emotional intelligence and the spiritual insight and the ancestral wisdom. And in mythology, well, before patriarchy rewrote everything, the divine was feminine, right? Creation came from the womb, from the earth, and from the goddess. What we saw in nature reflected the body of the divine feminine. But somewhere along the way, she was replaced with a male god. Creation stories were rewritten to center men. The father became the authority not just in the home, but in heaven too. And Disney, whether intentionally or not, mirrors that shift. See, when you strip the mother away from the story, you remove the symbol of sacred feminine power. The heroine is then forced to navigate things like trauma and identity without maternal guidance. And she's then often left with an emotionally distant father or just no parent at all. But a girl without her mother's wisdom is easier to mold or rescue or marry. And notice the narrative reversal, because in real life, it's far more common for the fathers to be absent, but Disney flips it, so the mother is gone and the father remains the center of gravity. This isn't an accident. It purposely reinforces the idea that the male figure is eternal and heroic, while the feminine is disposable. We also know that Walt Disney himself grew up in a strict patriarchal household with a very devout father, and that's a background that makes this emphasis on the all-powerful father feel like less of a coincidence. And let's not forget that when the birth mother is replaced, the stand-ins are almost always cruel or bitter and, let's be honest, drawn to look haggard and aging, right? The evil stepmother trope isn't just about being mean, it's about punishing older women for existing outside of motherhood or youthful beauty. Think of Cinderella's stepmother, or Snow White's, or even Rapunzel's mother Gothel, right? These women aren't simply antagonists, they're a warning. Power in an older woman is portrayed as dangerous and jealous. Disney didn't just kill the mother, it villainized any woman who might take her place. So when we watch these movies, especially as little girls while our brains are still developing, we learn that feminine power is either gone, absent, or something that we must earn back, right? That suffering quietly is noble. That being good and pretty enough will eventually lead to a prince, but not power. But we don't need to be princesses. We need to remember the mothers and what was taken when they were erased, their wisdom, their presence, and the fact that the story was never just about the girl who got the crown. It was about the woman that they disgraced and made us forget. And notice how the movie almost always ends immediately after the wedding, because what comes next is the part they don't want to show. The mothering, the unpaid labor, the emotional sacrifice, right? Marriage doesn't serve the fantasy, not when the fantasy was built to center his comfort at her cost. Because marriage isn't soft or sweet, it's demanding, it's real, and that reality disrupts the fairy tale. But by the time you realize that, well, they've already sold you the dream. I don't know, just something I was thinking about.